Okay, so this is the very important topic, functions. Okay, so what is a function? It's a block of code which is executed only when called. So we put some block of code in the program, but it won't be executed unless we call it. So we will see how we call it. Then we pass we pass data known as parameters to function. We pass some kind of data to function when we are calling it, and function can return data. So when we call the function, it does some processing and it will return some data also. That is what function definition and how it works. The advantages, right? Why we need to have these functions, right? Because code reusability is the important thing. For example, right, we are working as a team. So now I am writing certain piece of code in my own file, but that is the same thing the other guys also wanted to achieve, right? If they also write the same thing, that's a duplicate effort, right? So using functions, so whatever I am writing, you can use my function and execute your code. That is the main advantage of functions and how we are using the functions. Not only in Python, many language you see functions. Okay. One more advantage is code maintainability. You can easily maintain the code if you have code in separate pieces, right? If you have whole code in a single file like 1,000 lines, right? It's very difficult to understand and maintain the code. But if you have in a different functions, right? You can easily debug, okay, what this function is doing. So how this function is returning the data. Okay. Now let's see the syntax. So DEF, that is define. We are saying, okay, define a function. Now, what is function name? We have to provide a function name. Then braces. In the braces, if you are expecting any parameters and what are the parameters, and same like colon we use. Then indentation we have to follow. Then write whatever statements we want. If else loops, whatever we have done so far, everything you can write here. And whatever parameters you are defining here, right, you can use them here inside the function to do any operations. And finally you can return some data back. Okay, I'm just putting some data. So this is the syntax. Def, the function name, and inside the parenthesis what are the parameters you want for this function, and what you want to do the operation inside, and finally what you want to return back from this function. This is the syntax. This is syntax to define a function. We just defined it, right? This is a block of code we defined, but it is not executed until we call it. That is what this first statement says. Now, how do we call this function now? The same thing, right? The function name you defined, function name inside the braces, parameters, right? You are expecting some parameters. That is what you need to pass here. It is, they are also called arguments. Ideally, in the function definition, they are called parameters, and when you are calling them, they are actually called arguments. But sometimes people call parameters also. So arguments, parameters, both are almost same. So this is the syntaxes. How do we define a function and how do we call it? Calling a function. So when we are calling this function, it is returning something, right? that you can actually assign to a variable, like say function output. I can just assign to a variable. So whatever my function is returning, right? This data will come to this variable. So I can continue using this function output in my program. That is how we define a function. We call a function. Clear, right? Function definition.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, clear on the
And
calling part.
function also follows the indentation, right?
Huh.
Same
Indentation should be
there.
there. Yes. Under the function, how do Python know, okay, this is belong to my function with the indentation? That should be there. So when you see this code here, right, you have
Hmm.
to follow the indentation in if, for loop, or wherever. Now, let's see, we have already seen some functions, right? You remember we have seen length, right? Length is a
Hmm.
function. It is a function. It is expecting some parameters. That is why you see this mark. So what it is expecting, let's say I am keeping some name. It is stuck, okay. So if I'm just passing name here, length is a function name. This the parameter. It is expecting a object, string object, list object, tuple object, right? And what it is returning, returns length, right? Length of object. This return, right? Here it is actually returning the length. That is how this length function is working. You can assign, you can print, right? The same way here also, if you want to print, you can print, because it is giving some output. Whether you want to print, you want to assign to different variable, that's up to you. So this is what we have seen so far. These are called built-in functions, right? See, it has taken Abdul Kalam as input parameter and written the name, that is a length. And similarly, we have seen few more, right? What else we have seen? Sorted, we have seen type, ID. Those are built-in functions which comes with the Python itself. Now, these are the custom functions if we want to develop something. Let's start with an example. So now, very simple example. Let's say I want to define a function for addition, right? So let's say if we want to do addition, at least we need two numbers to add, right? So for that I need two parameters. Let's say first one is num1. This is again a variable name. Okay, the variable name we are using for this function num2. I'm expecting two parameters for my function addition. First one is num1, second one is num2. Now inside this function, whatever I want to do, I can do with these two numbers. So what I do, output, okay, num1 plus num2. I'm just doing addition. Now I got sum. What I want to do, I want to return it back. Whoever is calling my function, I will just return back the addition. This is a simple function, right? Def, your function name, and what parameters you want. And
పారామీటర్ డేటా టైప్ డిఫైన్ చేయాల్సింది.
sorry,
పారామీటర్స్ కి డేటా టైప్ ఏమైనా డిఫైన్ చేస్తామా లేకుంటే
um, that is called type type instructing. That is I mean launched recently in Python versions, where you can tell what you are expecting. What is that? Yeah, I think this one.
మీరు నమ్ 1 2 అని చెప్పారు కదా, అది ఇంటిజర్
Comma.
తీసుకుంటాం స్ట్రింగ్
No, actually,
తీసుకుంటాం.
yeah, it is there in recent version of Pythons where you can tell, okay, what I'm expecting. Okay, sorry, this one. Yeah, now I remember. You can actually tell, okay, I'm expecting an integer in num1, I'm expecting an integer 2 in num2, but it will not stop. Even if you pass some string also, it will still come and execute the code. But this is like a type instructing somebody is using this addition function, and when they are calling string, right? It kinds of give hint to tell, okay, this function is expecting an integer, but you are passing a string. That also we will
Mhm.
see. And there is one more thing you can add. This is also optional. I think this one. And what you are returning back. Yeah. So this way we are telling what this function will return, what kind of data. This function is returning the integer. And this is not a mandatory thing. Even this is not a mandatory thing. But this is a
Mhm.
good way of doing the coding. Well and good. We have defined the addition function. Okay. Now let's see. I'm just entering some numbers. Okay. A equal to 3, B equal to 4. I'm just executing this. We got nothing because we just created the function. We have not called it. This code is not executed. It is just lying there. Okay. Unless we call, this code is not executed. So now, how do we call this function? Right? Addition. That is the function name. Addition. It is expecting two things, right? Two numbers. So A is my first number, B is my second number. I want to use this as a arguments for this function. Here, what the A is having? A is having 3. So that is the first parameter, right? The 3 will eventually go to num1. Next, second one is B. B is having 4. This 4 will eventually go to num2. So num1 or num2 are only for this function when it is called. So whatever two values I am getting to my addition, I take first value into num variable, I take second value into num2 variable, and I use them in my function, within my function. These two are allowed within the function. You can't access them outside. You can't take print num1 and print num2 because they are local to that function. They are just parameters we are using for that function. And whatever you are passing here to, they will eventually go to num1 and num2. Now let's print this. Instead of assigning to a variable, I just want to print.
I mean, are you saying like when we call the function, we cannot use the same parameters
You can
which we use
use,
in the.
you can still use.
Mhm.
I'll come to that. Let's execute this.
Okay.
So now we got 7. How we got 7? It actually passed 3 here, 4 here. So 3 will come to num1, 4 will come to num2. 3 plus 4 happened here. Output got 7 and we are returning 7 back. When we are printing, we got the 7 back. Let's say I am just assigning this to a new variable. Then I am printing it out. Both are same. Now, as Srikanth was asking, right? You can still have num1 here and num2 here. Okay. You can pass num1, you can pass num2. These num1, num2 and this num1, num2 are different. They are not same. These two are only local to this function, but these two are global in this program. They are not same. See, I got still 7. And it's not limited that you can call only once. You can call any number of times. Okay, I'm directly giving two values now. I don't want to pass any variables. I'm just giving direct numbers. Okay, 10, 20. Maybe this I'll just print instead of assigning to a variable. This is how you are reusing the code. See how beautiful it is. You are having the same function, but you are calling it with different parameters, right? We got all different outputs. Every time we are calling, we are changing the input parameters or input arguments. Here 5 will go to num1, 6 will go to num2, 8 will go to num1, 9 will go to num2. This is how we define a function, we call a function. Now let's see if we are passing a string, what happens. Okay, you see that highlight, it's not going away. It is saying expected type int got string, right? But let's see. I'm just passing both and see what happens. You see, I got the output. How I got the output? Because plus work for strings also. It will just concatenate, right? I passed both strings. Still I got the output. It will not stop you to enter anything. But it is a type hinting. It will tell you, okay, it is expecting an integer, but you are giving a string. Got it?
యా ఇప్పుడు మీరు ఇంటి ఇచ్చారు కాబట్టి అక్కడ మీకు ఎర్రర్ ఇచ్చింది. ఇట్ ఈస్
Huh.
ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్.
If I remove
ఇప్పుడు
the
ఏమైపోతుంది?
if we remove hint,
డిఫాల్ట్
right, it won't show anything.
ఐ మీన్ డిఫాల్ట్ ఇట్ విల్ బి స్ట్రింగ్ ఓన్లీ రైట్?
No, 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 no. It will not expect any particular data type. It can be anything. It will not actually guess what I'm expecting. It will just take anything. See now that highlighter is gone now because I'm not expecting any particular data type.
What is it called, sir? Hinting only.
Type hinting.
Like,
Type hinting. Yeah. So it is hinting you, right, what you are passing.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Now,
Sure.
yeah,
శరత్
yeah, Sriram.
సో ఇప్పుడు గ్లోబల్ వేరియబుల్స్ని మనం లోకల్ వేరియబుల్స్ అంటే ఫంక్షన్స్ లోపల వాడుకోలేమా?
వాడుకోవచ్చు.
ఓకే
సపరేట్ టాపిక్ ఉంది, గ్లోబల్ వర్సెస్ లోకల్ వేరియబుల్స్ అని, అక్కడ డీటెయిల్గా
ఓకే
ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తా.
సార్.
Now, okay, there are types of parameters, right? We have seen the parameters num1, num2, right? There are actually different types of parameters. Okay, let's see types of function parameters. One is positional parameters and second one is keyword parameters. Okay, so positional is in whatever position you are defining, right? The same position the arguments also should come, and the positional parameters will be having like a single item. So now for example, um, let's change this to keyword parameters. Okay, this is the positional parameter example. We are good, just commenting this. Now in the keyword parameters, you will have a parameters defined with equal and some default value. This is called a keyword parameter. Okay, now you remember in the sorted, okay, uh, we have given a list like this 1 2 3, right? This is a positional parameter that should come first. After that, you remember we have used a parameter reverse equal to, right? Reverse equal to, we have given true. This is a keyword parameter where it has a default value already, which is false. Here we are defining our num2 as a keyword parameter with a default value 0. Same way our sorted function is having a reverse default value as false. If you pass anything, right, it will override the default value. Now let's see in example how this is working. Okay, now let's say addition, right? I'm passing 3 comma 4 again, same thing. Let's see the output. We got 7. 3 will go to num1, 4 will go to num2 because this is the second one. Next one, I am passing only 7. Let me change something. Okay, 9. So now what happens here? It worked for 3 and 4. It worked for only one item. How it worked? Because for the second parameter, there is a default value assigned because it is a keyword parameter. So 9 will go to num1, and we see if anything is coming for num2. Num2 we are not getting anything. So default value 0 is already there. So 9 plus 0, it becomes 9. That is what we got output as 9. Where in first case 3 is going as num1, 4 is going as num2. So the default value 0 is replaced by 4 now. 3 plus 4, 7. That is how the keyword parameters works. The rule is positional parameters uh, should be first, then keyword parameters. That is the rule. You can't have num2 before like this. This is not allowed. First you have to keep all your positional parameters, then only you have to keep the keyword parameters. This is the rule, right? And any doubt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Position parameter num1 is position parameter. Keyword is num2.
Huh.
Again, can I have num3 as
No,
position parameter?
no, that is where the rule. All your positional parameters should be first. This is not allowed. Yeah. You can keep num3 here and then num2. That is allowed. And you can have multiple keyword parameters from here and on. Continue. You can keep going like this. But all positional should be first and all keyword should be second. Okay. Now, let's say we have four numbers now, right? Uh, Output, let's say something I'm just keeping num3 minus num4. Now I am passing it as OUT. Okay, now it is giving this warning because I am saying I am returning integer, but this is a tuple. Okay, this is actually tuple. When you are putting two values returning like this, right? Without parenthesis also it becomes tuple by default. So if I change this to tuple, that warning will go. See, that is how the type hinting will help. What you are returning. Okay, now see, you can also, while passing, right? You can name them. Suppose this is a num1, right? You can actually say num1 equal to 3, num3 equal to 4. Okay, and this num2, num5 we already have default values, right? So even if I don't give, it will get executed. 3 minus 1 because num1 and I'm adding to 0 because that is 3. Then what I did, num3 minus num4 I did. Num3 is 4, right? So 4 minus 5 I got minus 1. After that, if you want to pass, you can also pass num2 equal to some value 6. Then num4 is equal to, let's say, 7. This is how we give 9 and minus 3. Now let's change the order and see how it works. Num3, num1, num4 and num2. When you are passing with the parameter name, right? When you are passing with the parameter name, now the order doesn't matter, right? Because you are telling explicitly using the parameter name. Okay, for num1 take the 4, for num3 take 3. Right? When you don't give these parameter names, then order matters. When you give the parameter name, then equal to what is the argument or parameter value you are passing, order doesn't matter. In real time, if there are keyword arguments, right? we mostly follow this naming convention. It is easy, right, to understand what I am passing. Instead of just passing 3, 4, 6, 7, and you don't understand where 3 will go, where 4 will go, right? This is the best practice we should follow.
యాక్చువల్ కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అయ్యాను ఇక్కడ. ఇప్పుడు మీరు గ్లోబల్ గా డిఫైన్ చేశారు కదా ఇక్కడ num3 num1 అనార్డర్ లో లైన్ నెంబర్ 56 లో.
లైన్ నెంబర్ 56 నేను డిఫైన్ చేయలేదు యాక్చువల్లీ. ఇది దిస్ ఈజ్
So,
హియర్ ఐఎమ్
what
నాట్ హియర్
మీరు
ఐఎమ్
అక్కడ అది గ్లోబల్ గా రాసినట్టు కదా, మీరు ఈ ఫంక్షన్ లో రాయలేదు కదా
నో
కాలింగ్ అనేది.
మనం ఫంక్షన్ కాల్ చేసేటప్పుడు
Parameters.
I am telling this function that I am passing 3 to the parameter num3. There is a parameter you have. To that parameter, I am passing value 3. The same way,
ఫంక్షన్ లో ఉన్న వాల్యూని మీరు ఇక్కడ
exactly.
రిఫర్ చేస్తున్నారు.
Apart from anything, right? Let's say num8 equal to 0. It won't allow. There is no num8 this function is accepting,
Correct.
right? So whatever parameters this function is having, now I am telling, okay, to this parameter you take this value, to this parameter you take this value.
Okay.
With this, the order is doesn't matter. You can go by any order, right? And return, right? If you are not returning anything, by default it is a return none. This is always there. If you don't return anything from this function, by default you get none. See, if I print now, I get none. If I comment this, right, that is we are not returning anything, even then you get none. So when you are writing a functions, right, it doesn't makes returning none. Your function want to do something, right? You are expecting some data and you are doing certain operations, right? And you want to return the output. And in what cases, we don't return anything, right? Let's say you are writing to a database or writing to a file, right? So inside the function you just write it to the file and leave it. You are not returning anything, any data as such, but we return the status, whether the file return is successful, database return is successful, something like that. So let's say now here I'm just saying status equal to, okay, db.write. This is not a correct syntaxes, I'm just giving a plain example. Okay, then we return the status. Then based on this status in my main code, I will handle whether my database return is successful or failed. In other utility functions, how we have seen it, addition. So you take some values, you return back something, right? Let's say a very good real-time example, right? Define delete duplicates, right? You take let's say some kind of object, okay? Let's say some names I'm getting example. So how do I delete the duplicates from name, right? Set, I should convert it to set first, then convert it back to list, right? This is what I just need to return. That's all. So if you pass something to this delete, right? Print delete duplicates. I'm just passing something A, B, let's say again A, C, right? So what I get? I get CBA. Order is not guaranteed, right? Because it is a set. So this function anybody can use now. That is how we use the code reusability using the functions. Yeah, I think we reached already top of the hour and I have a meeting now. Okay, any doubts before we wind up?
Just silly, simple question. 58th line lo order of argument doesn't matter, right? It goes with the key value pair kind.
Correct. Doesn't matter order. See, for positional or for keywords, you can even go without parameter name also like this. So when you are not maintaining the parameter name, it goes by the
It
order.
goes, okay, it goes in the defined order.
Yeah, same order. So 3 will go to num1, 4 will go to num3, and 6 will go to num2, 7 will go to num4.
Correct. But in 58, 3 will go to num3, which is second position. Correct? Am I correct?
Sorry, come again?
In line 58,
Huh.
3 will go to second position.
Huh. Because I'm giving num3 here, no, directly.
Yes, yes.
Now position doesn't matter. I'm telling, okay, you take 3 into num3. Yeah.
శరత్, మన మన ఫంక్షన్లో ఖచ్చితంగా పొజిషనల్ పారామీటర్ ఏదైనా డిఫైన్ చేసి ఉండాలా?
No, not mandatory. Suppose,
అంటే మనం మన పారామీటర్స్ అన్నీ కూడా మనం కీవర్డ్ కూడా అయ్యుండొచ్చు కదా?
yes.
ఓకే
Addition, not required.
ఓకే ఓకే. అండ్ సెకండ్ లైన్ 55 ఉంది కదా, అవుట్పుట్ అవుట్ రిటర్న్ చేస్తున్నాం కదా, అది నాకు అవుట్ సైడ్ ద ఫంక్షన్ స్టోర్ చేసుకోవచ్చు కదా?
You can, anything you can store. See, whatever your function is returning, you assign to a variable, use it. It can be
ఒక
list.
వేరియబుల్లో ఒకసారి అవుట్పుట్ ని సేవ్ చేసి చూపించు.
Okay.
అంటే ఎలా డిఫైన్ చేయాలన్నది జస్ట్.
Okay, num3, num5, this example ఇక్కడ ఉంది కదా. Let's say out 1 equal to this, and this is out 1. అంతే, out 1 we get this tuple.
మనం 2 రిటర్న్ చేస్తున్నాం కదా, అవుట్పుట్ ఒకటి అవుట్ ఒకటి.
అదే అంటున్నా, this becomes tuple. Even if you
అచ్చా,
give,
tuple ఉందా? ఓకే.
even if you give two braces or without braces, it becomes tuple.
అచ్చా అచ్చా, ఓకే. బట్ ఐ వాంట్ టు బి ఇన్ ఎ సెపరేట్ వేరియబుల్స్ లో
Variables.
స్టోర్.
Remember the tuple unpacking?
ఎస్.
Out 2. That's all.
ఓకే.